You are listening to the Music Ed Mentor Podcast, where we teach music educators how to build, manage, and grow thriving school music programs and have long and happy careers. I am your host, Elisa Jansen-Jones, and my guest today fulfills a request from so many of our listeners to bring on exemplar teachers who have been boots on the ground in the classroom over the past year of the pandemic. So today we feature my friend and yours, Steve Graves. Not only is he a composer and arranger and has more than 2 decades teaching in the middle school band classroom, he has truly embraced what is possible teaching in the online space. I can't wait to share this interview with you. I know you're going to get so much out of it. I asked Steve what's been working well for him this year, even though right when we were recording this podcast, he was just barely seeing some of his students in person for the first time this year. We talked about how he plans on bridging the knowledge gap that has inevitably separated his students from where they should typically be at this time of year. We talk about some of his favorite features of online teaching and some of the ways that he's recruiting and retaining students into next year. But first, big shout out to Smart Music for supporting this episode and for supporting classroom teachers worldwide with unparalleled access to teaching resources, not just for assessments and in-classroom instruction, but they have the widest library of licensed materials available for you. Not to mention their sight reading builder and automated assessment features, which help make closing that same knowledge gap for your students that much easier. If you haven't tried out Smart Music, give it a shot. smartmusic.com is where to go. Also, if you're looking for some great band instrument resources, go to musicprofessor.com. It's an online library of recorded video content broken up into bite-sized pieces for your young instrumental students. Go to musicprofessor.com to learn more about how this resource can also help your students be better prepared for their ensemble playing next year. Now, without further ado, let's get to our interview with Steve Graves. Tell us about who you are and what you've been doing and what you've been teaching, and why have like 15 people messaged me saying I have to interview you because you know it all.
Well, that's definitely an exaggeration. So do you want me to formally introduce myself and go through all that?
Yep.
Okay. Well, my name is Steve Graves, and I'm the band director currently at Lexington Junior High School in Cypress, California. That's in the Southern California area, just about 15 minutes west of Disneyland. And we're in the Anaheim Union High School District. And this is my, I've been there a while. This is, I think, my 18th year at Lexington. I've been teaching in the Anaheim District for 34 years. And so that's where I'm at. I teach full band. We teach six periods out of a 7-period day, and it's all instrumental band, no strings at the school where I'm at, and that's what I've been doing for a while.
And have you been in person at all this whole school year?
We've been virtual since March 13th of last year. Yeah. So, and we finally last week we're able to allowed to start seeing small cohorts of kids. So last week I saw 3 small groups. This week, starting Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I'm seeing 6 small cohorts in our asynchronous afternoon time, and get to work with 12, 15 kids at once, and it's awesome. It is just super exciting. The kids were excited to come in. I think I was more giddy than they were. I think they've kind of forgotten a little bit how to interact. But I was super giddy. Just hearing an F concert coming out from a woodwind section is like real noise. Yay! I was also super happy that they haven't forgotten how to play. They've actually been able to figure things out via this format.
So what I I want to save it for the end, but I don't want to save it for the end. What has your secret sauce been this year to keep your kids engaged? What's been working for you?
Well, there's a lot of different things that work. I think the one big thing, I mean, first is the realization that there's only one thing we can't do via this format. There's only one thing, and that one thing is we can't play together. We can play at the same time. We can play to them. They can play to us. We can teach lessons. We can do all the things that we normally did, but we can't do it together, and we can't physically react to them. So it's a world of slow, but it's just that one thing. And once you realize, okay, it's just that one thing, everything else you have to learn, okay, I got to do it the same, but I got to do it through this little tiny pin print right there. And so you have to teach to the kids rather than teaching at the kids. And I think that's the mistake a lot of teachers in a lot of different subjects make, is they are teaching at the kids. These poor kids are watching a Google slide for 45 minutes with somebody that sounds like they're reading the phone book. And as music educators, we go in, it's always 6 shows a day. It's not a dog and pony show, but darn it, you have to be engaging. You have to go in and you have to approach the kids in a way that's interesting for them to listen to. You have to engage them by getting them to respond back in some way, which is really hard through this. I think that's the number one thing, is to continue to do the things you were doing, but figure out how can you be engaging. I think we're all going to be minor league podcasters and music editors and video editors when this is all done, because we've had so much more experience speaking at a camera and learning how to manipulate the sounds that we're hearing and the things that we're getting. So I think that's the number one thing, is trying to do a lot of the same things that I would normally do in my class, but get them to happen through here. That's definitely been working. Some things, and I'm going to keep some things for sure. Being able to front load information by going, okay, watch this video tonight, and on Wednesday we're gonna talk about this, or on Wednesday I'm gonna ask you about this, or watch this video, answer 6 easy questions just to prove that you watched the thing. Wednesday we're gonna do what it has in the video, and you're front loading this information to the kids, and that's something we could have always done. We've just haven't really been forced to. And now we've kind of been forced to, if we want to keep up at all, front load some information, use that asynchronous time, the time when the kids they're just sitting there, and give them, okay, here's something else to watch, and front load information. So I'm definitely keeping that. Definitely. My beginning band first day with instruments this year online was the smoothest first day with instruments I've ever had. Because the kids had to watch several different videos from, here's how to open the case, have it facing this way, and all the things I'd normally tell them, but they had to watch a video, they had to answer questions on all those things. So when it came time and I'm looking at all their little screens, most of them are doing it right. That's huge. Usually that day I call it plate spinning day. Where you go over to one group of instruments. Okay, kids, take this out and hold on to that for a second while I go get these kids going. Okay, that plate's spinning. Okay, and you go to this kid. Now, would you find a reed? No, it looks like this. And make sure you hold it this way. Good, take that out. That plate's spinning. No, make sure that one's still going. Okay, now would you guys take out this part that's just your mouthpiece? No, not the whole instrument, just your mouth. Okay, that plate's spinning. And then you go back to the first group. And then pretty soon, it's like the guy just got like 20 plates all going at once, and he has to give each one just a little shake every once in a while to keep all the plates going. And that's usually what that first beginning band day is like. It's crazy. It's nuts. But super fun. It's just, it's spinning plates. Doing that, being able to front load information, that's been pretty cool.
Well, if you think back through all of our years of teaching band, haven't we always wanted our students to do more at home? We've wanted them to practice at home. We've wanted them to do more asynchronous stuff. And now we've equipped our toolkit with so many of those things.
Yeah, and at the same time, finding a balance has been a trick too, because so many teachers, when this thing started, music teachers that went, okay, we're going to have a daily flip grid that you're going to turn in, and we're going to do a daily musictheory.net challenge, and you're going to do a daily thing on flat, and you're going to do. And they didn't realize also that all the other teachers were assigning gobs and gobs of work. I only see you guys for 30 minutes online. Okay, great. I'm going to assign another hour's worth of work. And the kids were just swamped with work. So it took us a while to learn to adjust that and go, okay, wait. Number one, how many minutes and hours of things are we going to assign? How many minutes does it actually take? If I think it takes 10, it's probably going to take them 30. By the time they open the program up and figure out what is I'm asking them to do and go through and do the thing and then figure out how to accurately submit it via the right channel. Oh my gosh. Boy, if you don't have a sense of humor about how this stuff all works, you're dead. So figuring that out and also figuring out how many platforms these kids have to use. When I had at some point a list on my wall of platforms I needed to learn that were being pushed out by the district, and there was 10 things there, plus the other things I wanted to use, Smart Music or Sight Reading Factory, or musictheory.net, or Kahoot, or this, or the Rhythm Randomizer, all these different things. There's a list of 24 different platforms to learn, all with different passwords, and different ways to get in, linked to different accounts. And you imagine these kids with a Chromebook that might not have the latest software on it, trying to get on and do all these things. And then you went, okay, wait, let's pare this back again. Here's all the possibilities. Just because they're all on the menu doesn't mean I have to order every one today. And introduce things slowly and limit your choices of if it's effective, great, I'm going to stick with that. And here's this other thing. To me, it reminds me so much of just sitting in the water on a board and watching the waves come at you, and you have to watch each one and go, is that the one? You can't ride every wave, but you're just trying to find a few that'll give you a good ride, and that's really what it's been about in picking programs to use and picking what works. I think that's what's worked best for me with the kids. Yeah, I've gone back to teaching everybody the melody all the time. Using and writing flex arrangements where we're all going to learn the top line. That's great. I think my trombone kids are playing better than ever because they're playing chunks of melody along with everybody else. They can't hear what everybody else is doing. They're just hearing the track they're playing along with. They're hearing me. God knows what a trombone sounds like through this microphone to them with whatever little Fisher-Price headphones they're wearing. If they're wearing headphones or it's coming out through that little teeny tiny computer speaker sounding like wah, 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 who knows? Getting them to all play the melody, more unison playing, just teaching the same concepts to everybody on the same notes, that's been pretty powerful, and I'm definitely going back to that. Because I think the kids that I've heard anyways, they're stronger. Using the asynchronous time for sectionals has saved me. We pretty much are Tuesday through Friday, we're in school till about noon, give or take a half hour. But then the afternoon time, there's a couple hours in there, and that's where I've set up sectional time. Where, okay, show up if you want. And that's been beautiful because now all of a sudden I only got like maybe a dozen kids on the screen, and I got time to go, okay, you play. Now you play. Now you play. The stuff that just takes a second to do in class. But online, okay, you play. 2 minutes later when the kids found the mute button. Or if they're just not responding at all, that whole joke that's gone around now about this is like being in a seance, like Ivan, are you with us? I think you're here. If you are, shake a tambourine. So so that takes so long. But in the sectional environment online, it's a little bit quicker, and that's when I felt like I've done actually the most real teaching because you get more of a two-way flow of information instead of me just pushing stuff out. I made a T-shirt that I sold a while back that says the greatest band I've never heard. Because so much of it is that. I got to say like 75% of what we do is one way. We're pushing stuff out, and the only way we're hearing stuff back is in that sectional time and by student submissions of videos and recordings, depending on how those come in. So that's worked. Distributing music digitally, thank God for composers who have loosened up the reins on how they've done that or provided more things. That's just been really, really amazing. And I've tried to be as helpful as I can in that way with anything that I've used, I've put out to share.
Yeah, you have shared so much. You have been a complete lifesaver for some students out there. How do you find time to not only create all of this, but share it with your peers? And why do you do it that way?
The sharing is really important. That's why we all teach band. There used to be a guy, Leon Kaplan, the Motor Man. He used to have a show. I don't know if he's still around about cars, but his whole thing, he'd always introduce himself and say, I do this, folks, because I have a passion for sharing. I think that's why we all do this. It's not just that we enjoyed band, it's we wanted to share it. We wanted to hook others onto the same drug, you know? Um, and, and for me, I've benefited so much from the sharing that other people have put out, all the different groups that are on Facebook, all the different ways you can share things, all the podcasts, the amount of knowledge that is out there now compared to 15 years ago. Wow, it's amazing, and the amount of free material that's out there right now, it's huge. It's a lot to wade and sift through. But as I've come up with stuff, I'm just right now glad to share it. Some of it I've started to get into marketing it, and I have some things that are up on JW Pepper, and probably a lot of the freeware that's out right now will eventually go that route as well, when folks are able to go and purchase more music again. But I've just found it so helpful to me, the things that other people have shared, that I'm just joining in. Just, if it worked for me, it's a few clicks to post it, and if it works for somebody else. Plus, I've gotten some really great feedback. Folks that'll go, hey, did you notice that it did this? Could you do this instead? Or do you have anything like this? And I don't. And then I think, well, maybe I should. And then the list of projects on the wall grows. And okay, let's add that to the list and maybe get around to doing that.
It brings a whole new definition to your network.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The networking has just been huge. And even pre-COVID, band director networking has been superior to any other topic. You certainly, I know it happens, but you certainly don't see English teachers in a network sharing ideas and tips. You certainly don't see it in athletics. Boy, they'll observe and watch each other, but will they go in and go, let me help your offensive line? No. But boy, how many band rooms will we freely step into and help somebody else's band sound good? Or ask somebody else to come into ours? It is such a network of giving and sharing, like none other than I know. And that's part of the beauty of that. That's part of longevity, is taking a part in that. Not only the giving, but the receiving, and working with others that way. I think that's probably one of the secrets to longevity and success in this business, is to use that as much as you possibly can, because it's certainly out there.
And have a sense of humor.
Oh my God.
I feel like I could wrap up like all of my battling burnout sessions and self-care into that one phrase. Just
Absolutely.
have a sense of humor about it. Don't take everything so seriously.
At the end of the day, folks, it's just band.
It's just
You know,
music class. They should have fun. That's what it should be about.
and so much of that is self-imposed. We put that on ourselves that, okay, the concert must be on this date, and we must play this many pieces of music, and they must be at this level, and this, and this, and this. Who came up with these rules? They're all in our head. We're self-imposed. We make them. The number one rule should be, are we doing good things for the kids? And are we having fun? Because if that's not happening, why are we doing this at all? And so it should be those two rules, and everything needs to be filtered through that. And if it really doesn't work that way, if both of those rules aren't applying, are we doing a good job by the kids? Are we having fun? If the answer to either of those is no, probably not exactly the thing we should be doing. And we self-impose so much of that on ourselves, and we really need to take ourselves lightly.
Do you think that we will adopt that attitude if we haven't already adopted it in coming into the next school year?
I tell you, the attitude that's changed, well, for me at least, that I find works really well, is the continued and increased use of appreciative language. Being able to address students in a way that is absolutely not negative, not pandering, because I think there's a difference, but using language where you appreciate what they've done, but you are also giving them opportunities for growth. Every time a student submission comes in, an assignment, something like that, and there's a spot where I can give it a number, but there's also a spot for me to give a comment. And as often as I can, I'm going to give a comment, whether that comment is good job, but if there's something wrong, there's a big difference between going, okay, you left out all the flats in this scale and you got the letter names wrong, and saying, this is a great start. You're now ready to add this in and make sure you've taken care of this and this. Thanks for getting it in on time. You say that to a kid, he's going to respond to it because that's the way we all respond, right? When somebody gives us a positive vibe, we're much more receptive to any suggestions for change that come in. And so often, in the music rehearsal business is about picking out the mistakes. But you get so much more when you appreciate what's going right. It's 90% around us is going right. We're so focused on that 10% that's not. But if you focus on the 90, the kids are going to pick up on that 10. They're going to be much more receptive to it. And online, we've had to do that so much more in writing and so much more just in our introduction with the kids. Hey, I'm glad you're all here. Wow, that's really great. You turned on your camera. Hey, you're not on camera, but you contributed to our discussion in the chat. Thank you. And the more that happens, the more the kids are drawn in. That sense of appreciation of what they're doing. And that's definitely something I've always believed in that positive vibe, but the use of appreciative language, I think, is huge.
And it takes practice.
It absolutely does. Some of us are, we all got different personalities, thank God, but some of us are a lot more used to it than others. But it does, yeah, you have to sit there and go, wait, what am I poking at first?
Yeah, I love that. So what are some things that we can do right now to be ready for next school year? You already talked about the ability that we have now to front load our rehearsals with additional content that the kids can get into. What are some other things that we can do with an understanding that we hope to be back in person? We hope that that's the case, but there is no guarantee, and we understand that now, right?
We
Right?
understand that now. I remember a year ago going, okay, kids, we'll be back after spring break. Okay, kids, we'll be back after Christmas.
Yeah. I was thinking about that the other day too, and I was just like, yeah, ooh, extra long spring break. Oh, that's all right. Things will be back to normal in the fall.
Somebody's going to write a book, and that's going to be the title, The Longest Spring Break.
Let it be you, Steve.
Oh man, I don't know. But things that we could do. The number one job right now is get them back. Get them to come back. And not just the kids that have done well, but especially the kids that haven't. That's been kind of a focus for me, is those kids who are getting an F in the class and look at them and go, I'm a band director. I'm not used to seeing Fs. I see an F usually once, and then that's going to change right away, really quickly. And the amount of Ds and Fs that you see, but it's because kids haven't been turning things in. They don't deal with this environment well. That kid, you have to assume good intentions and think, if I got that kid physically in my band room and saw him every day in band, would I have a chance with them? And the answer's got to be yes. If you saw that kid, that you're going to get them playing an instrument. And if you see that kid every day, you're going to be able to get them to turn stuff in because you're going to hound them for it, or you're going to have them sit there right there and do it. You're going to get that kid to an A or a B. Easy. But you can't do it if they don't come back. So that's job number one. They have to come back. And so you've got to work with those DNF kids and let them understand, look, this isn't what it is. Let's get in person. Come back. Give it another chance. I'll let you start over. That's okay. You have to let them know that this isn't personal. Can you imagine? Here's a kid that's been getting A's, all through elementary school. They come, all of a sudden they get into middle school or high school, and they're failing 6 out of 7 classes, 5 out of 7 classes, 4 out of 7 classes, 1 out of 7 classes. They're not used to ever seeing an F. What does that do to a kid? But if somebody says, look, it's not you, it's me. It's not you, it's COVID. Maybe that's the next t-shirt. It's not you, it's COVID. And you can get them to understand that you're sincere about that. Give it another chance. Come back. I want to do this with you in person. Then you're going to get that kid back. Now you got a chance. That's number one. Number two, I think, is thinking about your end game right now, because I'm at a point where I've got less than 2 months of school left. I can count on my hands and feet almost the amount of actual rehearsal days or class rehearsal sessions before instruments start getting checked in. And I have to think seriously about the end game. Where is it that I want the kids to end up at the end of this year where they feel a sense of completion, a sense of readiness, like my 8th graders are ready to go on to high school and they don't feel like they're going to be totally lost. That my first year players are going to come back and go, I feel comfortable making music on some level. I feel knowledgeable about my instrument, about the language of music to the extent that I'm ready to do this more. And where do I want to start them off next year? Where's a good starting place? What's the minimum requirement that I could start them off with? Well, the minimum requirement really is breathing, but that's the thing. So be thinking about the end game right now, and considering where they'll start from next year, and starting to prep appropriately now. And think about, okay, what are my starting materials going to be for next year? Because it's going to be different than what I've ever started the year before with if I see them in person. Because they're coming in at a different level. Everybody's going to be behind. Everybody's had a gap year. All the high school classes, my goodness, out here, they're going to have 2 freshman class. They're going to have the sophomores that have never done marching band or in-person band, and the actual real freshmen coming in who have never done it. It's like having 2 freshman classes coming in, So you have to prepare. Okay, that's going to be a different set of literature that we're going to use for that group. But we can get them to the same point over time. We'll get them to the same point. So I think that's the next thing. And then staying in your local loop just about what's happening. Are we coming back? What are the requirements? What are the rules going to be? How many different covers do I need to put on my face and my instrument? Knowing what those things are going to be, or what they could possibly be, because we know it's changing day to day. But staying in the loop so you don't get caught by surprise. I was amazed how many teachers got caught by surprise that, oh, I've got to teach you a computer? Can I just do my art class through my phone? We had teachers that they were a semester in still trying to do class through their phone. Staying in the loop so you're aware of what's going on. Making sure you contact your administrator and go, look I know your job's hard. And I understand that. I want to be helpful to you by staying in the loop, because I can give you information about my program that nobody else knows, because I'm the only one that knows. But your admin doesn't really, they're not thinking that at the top of their head. You have to let them know that. And you have to remind them about that and go, hey, I'm still here, and I'm here to make things work. I need to be in the loop. And I think that is probably the fourth and most important thing.
Yeah, I love that. What are you going to do for recruiting? Are you going to change your philosophy at all this year, or are you going to do different?
I don't know what I've changed philosophy. I mean, it's basically already happened. We do our, they do their registration pretty much in January, February. And I put together a couple videos, one that's just kind of shows a few highlights of the band. I put together one that has a calendar, basically, pictures and things about, here's your year in band, from month by month, what usually happens to get the kids excited. And any of the kids I've shown that to seem to be really excited about it. Even the kids who've already been through a year like that are kind of a part of a year like that. And a video for my incoming brand new kids, beginners, about, hey, here's who I am. Here's the instruments you can choose, just to start some buzz about that already. And that's pretty much been the extent of it, because we haven't gone out. Our counselors went and showed videos to 6th graders, and that's how we were able to recruit. Our district's a little bit different because we're a 7-12 district. We're fed by a bunch of different elementary districts that are totally separate entities from us, that we have, depending on your area, little or no reaction or interaction with, and no control over whatsoever. I'm fortunate that I'm fed by the Cypress Elementary District, and it tends to be the same students from the same schools, and there's a couple elementary teachers there teaching instrumental music now, but with a program that's just a couple years old, 2-3 years old, who are thankfully working closely with me and asking questions about what do we need to send your kids to you with, or can you come in and talk to our class? Can you conduct them in something? Can you lead them in something? And those kind of things. Getting yourself visible is especially helpful, and letting parents know what's out there, letting your community know what's out there, posting on your community social media. Hey, here's something your band is doing. It's always your band. It's not the band at the school. It's always your band, your community band. That's a different mindset for people. And putting that information out there. Anytime the kids are actually getting something done, posting your virtual concerts on community social media outside of your band parents. Those kind of things are really, really important. So that's pretty much been the extent of my recruitment. And with some changes in course requirements and things like that, the numbers they'll hold. I think everybody's going to have a little smaller year. They'll hold. And what walks in the door? I don't know, but I'll teach it.
I like that attitude. What walks in the door? I'll teach it. That's great.
You can't teach empty chairs.
So let's talk about what we can do this summer to prepare ourselves for next school year, because you already said it. We should have a base knowledge of video and audio editing and how to do. Oh my gosh, I learned how to do so much with PowerPoint this year. It's been amazing and I love it so much. But if I want to spend some time learning a new skill this summer or improving a skill that I have, what do
Yeah.
you think we should be learning and focusing on?
So many things, so much tech. Again, it's like find the waves that are going to give you the best ride. But I think knowing your district's plan, what do they plan to do? What are you likely to be faced with? And what are the things that your district is using? Like in our district, they're creating a whole new learning management system. They've been using one called Schoology. Other people have used Google and other people have used Canvas and all the other different things. And our school district has in-house created their own. They're moving into next year. Okay, I need to know how to use that. I had hardly ever even touched Schoology until we were forced into this. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, this is my sole means of communication with the kids. Okay, I've got to learn how to work around this. So learning your district's learning management system, I think, is really important. And then finding out what's native to that. What are the programs that are going to work within that? Are there some Google things that work with that? Is Zoom native to that? Are there things you need to add or change to that? That's really important because that way you're working within an infrastructure that already exists. Developing your own plan for that. I think deciding what you'd like to keep from this year and what you're going to throw out. What was too much work? For me, the litmus test was if the instructions to do the thing took longer than the actual thing, nope. That's a no. It's not gonna fly with the kids, and it's too much work for me. So figuring out what do you want to keep, and what are the things that you thought about using but didn't get into using. What are the things you want to use more? So that's it. That's another one. Looking at technologies that you want to use. Maybe consider what's appropriate or available to do during the summer. Can you start a reading band somewhere? Maybe it's a conglomerate of several schools. Is there a park and rec department that might be able to host that if your school district doesn't? I have a band director friend at a local community college here, and I've had two of his kids in my band, still have another one in, who for the last several weeks has been hosting Playground Band, where we meet at a local playground. He posts the music online. You show up, we're distanced, you wear a mask, we're 6 feet apart, and we're playing through some pep tunes. There's junior high kids, high school kids, some college kids showing up to play and just to keep playing and to make music together. Look for opportunities like that are formal or informal that might occur during the summer where you can get kids together. Maybe it's a Head Start band. Hey, I want to invite you. You've signed up for beginning band. I want to invite you to Head Start band. You want to get a jump on everybody else and learn this before we go? Or maybe it's taking your second year kids and going, hey, we didn't get to play much all together, but now that the reins have loosened up a little bit, do you want to meet and play some music a couple times a week? We can do that during the summer. Set up a place to do that, but keep your kids in the loop. And you might actually gain a little bit of ground back as well. I know every high school band is probably figuring out, okay, we got to start getting our kids back and start doing some kind of band camp and find some structure to do that. And what are the rules we need to work within to do that? And I know they're looking at, but I think as far as middle school and elementary education, maybe start looking at those opportunities too. And it doesn't have to be something that's every day for 2 hours for 4 weeks. Maybe it's twice a week for a couple weeks. Just see your kids a few times, get them in the loop.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, you could have a sing-along choir, you could have a bring your instrument and just play anything jam session. With younger kids, you could totally do some sort of musical theater sort of thing. And all of that's going to help maintain your program next year.
Yeah. I mean, even if it's just hot cross buns in the park, folks is going to keep them playing.
Yeah. I would totally take my ukulele and say, it's just sing along with Miss Jones time. Come on out.
There you go. That would be cool, right?
Yeah. The hardest part would be deciding which ukulele to bring. It'd be the bass. Sorry. Oh, okay.
But yeah, I think those are the things to focus on, focus on that and focus on what are the adjustments you're going to need to make? What are just pulling back, like I said, that we're the ones setting the rules here, and going back and what are your rules? Throwing out the ones that you need to throw out and creating some new ones about, okay, here's the new standard. And the standard doesn't have to be less. It just has to be more doable within what you have. I mean, for me this year, my mantra has been make more music with less notes. And we've been able to do that. We've read a lot more pieces of music at a lower level, but the kids are picking up their instrument and playing through. And I've talked to some parents who have kids in other programs where all they're doing online is talking about how do you feel. And they're really disappointed because the kids really want to play.
They just want to. They just want to make music.
That's why they took the class, right?
Yeah.
I tell my percussionists that all the time, because they're holding the sticks. I say, put the sticks out of your hands. If you're holding them, you're gonna make noise. That's why you took the class.
That's a good point.
They just want to play.
So now that you've got a solid year of being online in the classroom, is this still an important skill for us outside of knowing the softwares and outside of creating materials for our students? The actual teaching happening online, is it important for us to know?
Yes, in two different ways. Because I don't think completely doing things online is going to ever get less. As far as, I don't mean like we're going to go back in person and we're going to see kids and we're going to do all that. But I don't think that like dropping this online persona of doing things online is going to completely go away. Nor do I think that it should. Gosh, just online faculty meetings, so much better. The beauty of a mute button or turn your camera off. Oh my goodness. That I hope that stays in some way. That whole saying about this could have been an email. Well, this could have been a Google Meet. This could have been a Zoom meeting. Way better. Way better. I hope that keeps. Being able to meet one-on-one with kids during time when maybe they can't get to school. Being able to have kids come on and do some, Mr. Graves, I'm having trouble with this. Okay, sign on at 5 o'clock. I'll help you. That's just marvelous and wonderful to be able to do. Being able to put out video instruction for your kids. They missed a day when you talked about that one really important thing they needed to know. When you talked about how to put together the clarinet, or when you talked about how to read 16th notes, or anything. Being able to have that video resource for kids and being able to do them effectively in an engaging way, I think that's really, really an important skill to have that we should definitely continue to hone. But even more importantly is engagement and communication skills. This is a challenge. And what I noticed last week when I finally got to see kids in person, it's so much easier to talk to them and engage them. You forget. But gosh, it's like overtraining. If we could do it this way, getting in person with kids, gosh, how much better are we going to be? So I think it's kind of good training to be able to think about how to address people in a one-way format and still keep them engaged. Questioning, learning to ask questions. For me, I always pick on the kids that are in my class are the won'ts, the kids that don't want to answer anything. That's the kid I'm going to all the time. Well, now online, it's those black box kids where there's just a name. They're getting asked all the questions constantly. It's not the kids who are on camera because I could see that they know it. I'm asking the questions and I see them just going like this and they're putting up fingers to answer and they're waiting to type it in the chat. It's the black box kids that I'm constantly picking on and asking questions to find out, to dipstick, to check for knowledge constantly. We've got to continue to do that in our classroom even more. A lot of us do it a lot and I feel like I do it a lot in my class, but I've done it a lot more online. When you can't see them. We have to be thinking ahead. So much of the rehearsal, I spent in the last couple of weeks, I had 2 honor band rehearsals where a neighboring district asked me to conduct their honor band and run rehearsals. I have to put quotations around that, online. 90% of that is guessing what they're probably going to miss and talking about it and going, let's go over this part again. Let's go over that. How many of you missed that A flat right there? Okay, now you see the hands go, okay, good, I guessed correctly. It's kind of a fun game. But it's kind of like rehearsal techniques, a video game. Guess what the band's going to miss, and can you say it before they miss it? And then when you ask, they'll tell you if they did it wrong or right. But that's also really increases your sensitivity to what you think, your kids live and in person, what do they really need? Because that's so many of us put on the autopilot, and we're just going to go from this section to this section and we're going to do it again. And okay, that's good, move on. But we're really not listening. We're really not thinking analytically about what are the things the kids need to get from this. And I think this model, if we do it right, forces us to do that.
Yeah, for me running online rehearsals, it's made me more strategic. Exactly how you said, like I know my band. I know where those challenges are going to be, where those issues might appear. And so now I can formulate my rehearsal strategy based on that.
And use of time. I get 40 minutes with the kids, and I've taken to where, like, I'll put in my rehearsal list down the margin. You probably can't see that, but down the margin, I'll put like what time I should be at this thing. I haven't done that in ages. But when you only got 40 minutes and you know that they got to log on to another class, and you can't tell where they're going, just that minute by minute, okay, where should I be at this point? How long is that actually going to take? Boy, you really have to think through that. So time management is definitely something we've learned from this. Definitely something, How long is that Kahoot going to take, Thank God for Kahoot. Oh my gosh, what a fun thing. Those people are getting it right.
Oh, it's so fun. Isn't that great how you can there's some softwares that you're like, they have figured it out. Like it just works. And then there are some that are so convoluted. And like you said, if it takes you longer to read the instructions than to actually do the thing,
Yeah.
it's been interesting.
Yeah, the Kahoot people getting it right. It's funny, I was talking to Pat Sheridan. I went hiking with him and his wife a couple weeks ago, and he was talking about, at the American Band College, they did the whole thing online. Was it that, or was it in Wibbeck? Maybe it might have been Wibbeck, Western International Band College. One of the two. They did a Kahoot at the end of the thing. And they had all these sessions with, famous composers in all the sessions, and great clinicians in all the sessions, stuff going on, that people could attend online. And then the last session was a Kahoot, and all the composers were there, and there was questions about all of them and all the clinicians. And what was the one session that everybody attended? The Kahoot.
Because here's the secret, Steve. We want to have fun just as much as the students do.
Yeah.
And if we can find that fun, whether it's across a camera or a screen or asynchronous learning or in person, that's what is going to attract and maintain our program.
Absolutely.
All right. This has been so good. I mean, you knew that I was looking forward to talking to you already, but
yeah, it's taken forever bouncing back and forth to make this happen.
Well, spring schedules. What was the t-shirt you said? It's not me, it's COVID. It's not you, it's COVID. Yeah.
Not you, it's COVID.
It's not our schedules. We can just blame everything on COVID. So, give us some final tips, inspiration for where we should be next year.
Where we should be next year. Thank God. I hope we're in the classroom. I hope we're in front of kids. I hope we're appreciating the fact that we have work. I have a lot of friends that are out of work. I know a lot of people work for Disney nearby that they were plumb out of luck for a long time, and now some of them finally starting to get the call back. Slowly reeling back in, I'm thankful I've had a job, and the job changed a lot. It was online, but the paycheck still came in, and I still wanted to do it well. I know that there's some people in probably many different subject areas that just phoned it in, literally, phoned this in because they had to. But I know that music educators worked really hard to do this well, and we're going to all be better for it. That's really cool. This is going to be so much easier in person if we continue to remember what we did. Remember the Alamo, remember COVID, and what we had to do and how hard we had to work. I think we're going to really appreciate in-person rehearsals a lot more. I've seen so many stories as of late of people going back and just being in tears, sitting in their car in tears after getting to work with a kid, That's, we have to remember that, how hard this was. We take what we do for granted. The fact that it's just band, but we get to do this every day. That's the reason we did it, is because when we were kids, we sat in the band room and we went, this is cool. And some of us loved it so much that we gave up our lunchtime And we went and sat in the band room at lunchtime. Maybe we played instruments some more. Some of us ditched classes to go sit in the band room some more. We hung out in there after school till the band teacher said, I got to lock the door, go home. We'd show up in the morning extra early. When he showed up, we were there because we really enjoyed it that much. It was so much fun. It's going to be fun in person again. So we have to remember that, why we're here and why are our kids here. They're not here to take tests. They're not here to fill out forms. They're here because it was fun. They enjoyed the person they're working with. They enjoyed the people, their students they're working with. They enjoy making music. So we have to remember that. Why are we here? That's the big blessing, you know. Every time I see it, every time I think about this, I think about passing by, you know, that truck that's towing the trailer that's full of tar. And there, but for the grace of God, go I. Could be the guy that has to work with tar on a roof all day. Thank God there's people that do that, but I'm glad it ain't me.
We are very, very fortunate. So thank you for reminding us all of that. I think we need it very often.
And we work with some of the best people, our students and our colleagues.
I hope that you had a great time joining us for this episode. I know how incredibly valuable your time is right now, and I hope that you're leaving this time being inspired and encouraged for next year. Speaking of next year, if you're trying to get more instruments for your music program, you may have heard about ESSER funding, which is a huge benefit from the federal government to help you get more of the supplies and instruments that you need. To learn more about how you can access ESSER funding, Conselmer Education has put together a list of resources and a video training available to you for completely free. Go to education.con-selmer.com to learn more and to explore all of the resources Conselmer Division of Education are creating for you to support you in your music teaching. Also, a big shout out to Smart Music, once again for promoting and supporting this podcast over the last 3 years. I can't even believe that we've been doing this and reaching our 3rd birthday. Thank you for being a part of this amazing journey. If you have any recommendations for episodes that you want to hear or interviews that you would like me to conduct with people that you adore, I would love to hear from you. Go to musicedmentor.com and submit a form for a speaker request. I can't wait to hear what you want to hear. Until next time, my friends, keep teaching on.